You did something this morning that no other creature on this planet does. You looked in the mirror, not to check for danger, not to scan for parasites or wounds. You looked, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you recognized the face staring back at you. You thought about how you looked. Maybe you adjusted something. Maybe you felt something about what you saw. That moment, that tiny, mundane, forgettable moment, is one of the most extraordinary things a living creature has ever done. And it didn't come for free. Something happened to your ancestors. Something precise. Something that separated the line of creatures that became you from every other animal that ever walked, swam, or crawled on this earth. Scientists have been arguing about when it happened, what triggered it, and whether it happened all at once or slowly over thousands of generations. But the closer researchers look, the stranger the answer gets. Because the moment humans stopped being animals wasn't a moment at all. It was a threshold, and crossing it changed everything, including what it means to be the thing reading these words right now. Let's start with a body. About 300,000 years ago, in what is now Morocco, a group of hominins lived, hunted, and died. Their bones were found at a site called Jebel Irhoud, and when paleoanthropologist Jean-Jacques Hublin and his team analyzed them, they made a discovery that forced scientists to rewrite the origin of our species. These were Homo sapiens, the oldest ever found. Their faces looked almost like yours. Their brow ridges were flatter. Their chins were more defined. But here's the thing. Their skulls were shaped differently. The brain case, the part that houses everything that makes you you, was more elongated, more primitive. The modern human brain shape, that rounded, globular structure behind your eyes, had not yet arrived. The body came before the mind, and that gap between the moment the face became human and the moment the brain became human lasted tens of thousands of years. So what was missing? Researchers have a term for it: behavioral modernity. It refers not to what your body looked like, but to what your mind started doing. Things like making art, burying the dead with objects, planning more than a few hours ahead, using symbols, telling stories, asking why. For most of human prehistory, none of that existed. Your ancestors ate, slept, survived, and died without leaving a single mark on a cave wall, without placing a flower on a grave, without looking up at the stars and wondering what they were for. They were anatomically human, but behaviorally, they were something else. Then something shifted. Around 70,000 to 100,000 years ago, evidence of symbolic thinking starts appearing in the archaeological record. Ochre, a red pigment, begins showing up in patterns at sites like Blombos Cave in South Africa, studied extensively by archaeologist Christopher Henshilwood. Perforated shells that served no practical function. Geometric engravings. These are not tools. They are not food. They are meaning. Your ancestors started making things that meant something beyond their physical function. That is a line no other animal has crossed in the same way. But why then? Why did it take 200,000 years between the first human face and the first human symbol? One answer comes from a quiet revolution happening inside the skull. Neurologist Terrence Deacon, in his work on the symbolic species, argues that the human brain didn't just get bigger, it got rewired. The connections between regions responsible for language, memory, and planning became denser, faster, more integrated. This wasn't a simple expansion, it was a reorganization. And reorganization takes time. It takes generations of small mutations, small pressures, small advantages compounding until suddenly, not suddenly at all, but in the perspective of a human lifetime suddenly, the brain could hold a symbol in its mind and attach meaning to it that wasn't physically present. A cave painting of a deer is not a deer. Your brain knows that. A wolf's brain does not. That gap, that ability to let one thing stand in for another, is the seed of language, of religion, of money, of law, of love letters, of flags, of everything that makes human civilization possible. All of it grew from the ability to look at a mark on a wall and feel something about what it represents. And here is where it gets strange, because that shift, the rewiring, wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a new pressure. Once your ancestors could use symbols, they had to keep up with the symbols other people were using. Language creates social complexity. Social complexity creates hierarchy. Hierarchy creates politics. And politics for a social primate is a matter of survival. Suddenly, your brain wasn't just tracking predators and food sources, it was tracking relationships, reputations, who owed whom, who said what to whom.